Jen, make sure you're muted right now. Thanks, sorry.
No worries. So it's recording now. Yep. All right, so I just did a lot of reading this summer and a lot of exploring of what play-based learning would look like in a preschool classroom. And so I want to just share that with you. If you have any questions, I'll have some question time at the end. I'm going to go through some theory and understanding of why it's a good way to teach preschool and really up into the older ages, but we're going to focus on preschool, and then some application parts of it. So the main book I got that I used is Purposeful Play, and I have it written down in the slides. So whenever we get to that, you'll see that I have it written down, Purposeful Play. And then I used a couple articles, but I'm not going to read all the names of those, but they're in the presentation that if you're interested in it. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take you to a quick little clip. If anyone has ever heard of Bluey, I don't know if y'all would, because it's a new show that has only been on for a couple months, but it is an excellent show. It's from Australia and it's all about play, everything in there. But the one episode that I'm going to show you real quick, it's 5 minutes, is about the teacher and how she uses play in the classroom. So I want you to put on your play hat, looking for details of how she uses play to share with her kids, and then I will talk about it in a few minutes.
And the rain stopped, and out came the sun.
Ooh.
Sister Rain has left, and Father Sun is home. Brother Wind comes blowing in to welcome home the gnome.
I can't see it.
It's called Calypso.
Can y'all see it? No. It says it's sharing. Boo.
Hear it, but not see it.
You can hear it, but not see it. Well, the seeing it's what y'all need. It says sharing screen. I don't know why it wouldn't share it. Let me try clicking it in one more time. You see it now?
No.
Well, stink, because it is adorable and it's really good. I was going to show it off of Disney Plus. If anyone has Disney Plus, I recommend going and watching it. It is an episode about a teacher who starts out in a large group setting, and then the kids all go out, and the kids go and play. And we're going to talk about the different plays. One section is a set of triplets that's in a castle. There's a gnome village. They call it a chip shop, but it's French fries and fish shop. There's an apartment being built, and it's how she walks around the classroom, engaging each of those groups, and you'll see in the end that she actually brings them all together for one common goal. And so that's why it was a really good example of how we use play. So I encourage you, the name in the presentation, it's called Calypso, and if you have, I'm sharing my screen again. If you have Disney Plus, it's on there, but also if you, like most cable, they have Bluey, and then you can just search for Calypso, and that episode will come up. It's number 17. But it's really, I encourage you to go watch it because it is a great example of how we use play in the classroom. Let's get this in. No, that's not what I want. All right, so for a moment, I know this morning y'all have been talking about teaching virtually, and we're thinking about application for this year, and I know it's hard to take that hat off, but when I talked to Michelle about what I was teaching, I wanted to tell you about play, and then later we'll come back to the COVID thought process and how we can apply it this year. So let's take our COVID hat off, and put that on the side. So let's think as preschool teachers and what we would do in a typical year, and then we'll come back to sort of hat back on later in our thought process. So first we want to talk about what is play-based learning. Just if you have a pencil, or you can just think it in your head right now, I want you to think about, what do you already know about play-based learning? How do we teach with it? What are some pros and what are some cons? How do you plan using play-based learning? How do you meet your learning goals that we're expected to use? And how do you assess students? So these are my goals for you to come out with, how to use play-based learning. So I'm gonna give you about 2 minutes. If you wanna jot anything down of your pre-thoughts about play-based learning, I'm gonna give you just like maybe 1 minute. All right, you can continue to write down things if you want to as we go. But I want you to, as teachers, many of us have taught for a while, and we have our set ways that we teach certain things. And I want you to have an open mind, because some of this stuff will sound a little bit like, ooh, I don't know if I want to do that. But I really feel like in the end, you'll find that you'll enjoy your class, and you will, the kids will enjoy it better. And so what is play-based learning? Play is the natural state of learning for children. If we look at psychology, if we look at developmental stages, play is how children learn. They can listen, they can sit, they can hear things and watch, but they will not put it in their long-term memory. And our goal in teaching is to actually get our children to actually learn what they're hearing and saying and doing. So if we allow them to play through their learning, they will ingrain it more in their thoughts and their learning. Play is the way children work. I know that all of you know this. You've seen kids in their actions. They don't want to sit down and like jot down words. Currently, Emmeline is really struggling with just writing, and it's because she just knows too many stories in her head, and she wants to act them out, and she wants to show them. But in first, second, third grade, we want to get them to that point. But in especially preschool, we want them to be able to express their likes, dislikes, learning, thoughts through play, because they don't need to be able to write it down at this point. So how are they going to show it? They're going to show it through making up songs. They're going to show it through acting out things. They're going to show it through building things, through making things. And so that's what our goal is. Play gives the children an opportunity to use their language, negotiate problems, collaborate, foster empathy, use their imagination, use creativity, be flexible learners, be persistent and resilient, and develop the ability to deal with complex situations. In preschool, we get the opportunity to really engage kids in not only the learn your ABCs, your 1, 2, 3s, but we really have the opportunity to engage them in their social part of learning. And play allows for that. Play allows for interaction. Play allows for taking time to think. Play allows for them to really engage in their learning. Play is its own method of instruction. Like I said earlier, we have to think of it a different way. A lot of times in this book and a couple of the other readings I did, they kept saying, don't use your adult mindset, use your kid mindset. So when we're planning it, we think about our kid, the way the kids would engage in the thought process and in the learning and the materials. So it's a different shift for our brains. And then play is essential for the development of the mind and the human spirit. kids that don't have play, they have done a lot of research, end up being just kind of angry and unhappy and just not good adults. So learning how to play is essential. And what our job is to teach them how to play. Because not all kids know it, not all kids have it ingrained, and we need to give them opportunities to learn how to play. So how can we infuse the abundance of play and the principles of play across the curriculum? I know it's daunting to think, oh, I need to teach them how to write. I need to teach them how to share. I need to teach them all of these things. And play gives you the opportunity to, but it's not segmented parts. And so we're going to talk about how we apply those. So first, let's talk about the types of play. There are 4 main types of play. My initial thought on play is, oh, that's just them standing over in a corner or playing in a center, and they're making up things and they're using their fantasy thinkings and or using their own imagination. But play can be so much more than that. So play can be teacher-led or student-led, and each type of play can have either situation. And either part, it helps the students. I'll get to the part in a second. So the first type of play is fantasy play. That's when they take on roles that determine the set of rules and roles that the people have. So say, for instance, a grocery store. We do the grocery store room. There's the checkout person, there's the reshelfer, there's the other parts. Everyone has a role, and that should have, when we're teaching with the grocery room, we've talked about it from the teacher's perspective, and we set rules and roles down for them to play within. Because if kids haven't been to the grocery store, and especially right now, a lot of kids haven't been to the grocery store, they might not know what a grocery store looks like or how it works. And so we need to teach that. Also, we could do like family play, and that can be more the student-led environments where you have babies and you have a brother and sister, and allow them to play. So that's fantasy. They're taking on different roles. Games with rules. This can be children or teacher, again, rules, sets of boundaries that they make. They this allows for kids to have self-regulation and logic and reasoning if you're having the kids develop the games, or if you're doing it, it's following rules and teaching them those social skills. Again, on Bluey, and I know I'm going to refer to Bluey a couple of times because it's a very good visual of different types of play and engaging in play. So I encourage you to watch it. But on Bluey, there's an episode called Keepy Uppy, and the dad suggests have a balloon, and you just throw it up in the balloon, and that's just a really easy game. But they gave all these rules. You can't jump on the couch. You can't tap it more than 2 times, and you have to keep it in the house so it doesn't go and pop. And there's reasons behind all those, but it's just an easy game. They're taking and they're sharing to keep the balloon up. So for my 2s, my 18 months, even my 3s, really my 4s and 5s should practice sharing with this kind of thing. But it's an easy game of just a balloon tossing up in the air, and kids love it, and it's active and engaging. Great thing for on the playgrounds. Another one on Bluey is the shadow game. It's where the dogs, they have to stay in the shadows and they can't get out, and they have, again, a set of rules that if there is a break in the shadow, you have to wait and figure out how to make a shadow so your friends can get across to the cupcakes. They're listed in my notes, so I encourage you to go watch them. But the whole thing of the kids made the rules at that point, and they made up a great game, and Bluey has to figure out the bus is moving and he made a big gap. What am I going to do? I have to wait for another car. So the kids thinking through, processing, talking through, what are my rules? That's games with rules. Then we have constructive play. This is anything they make, like making towers, making Play-Doh, anything they have a product that they come out with. This is also the time where we really engage that STEM learning. So that's for science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. And I know we don't put a label on it. We say we're doing STEM time. You can, but you don't have to. But that's really the engagement of play that you're getting their brain to think about. How can I build this tower that it won't fall over? How can I make my friends be excited about building a zoo and I'm building the Lions exhibit, and so-and-so's doing the giraffe, and so-and-so's doing something else. That all is engaging their social dynamic and learning about how do I process dealing with my friends? How do I process science? And it fires more parts of their brains than just I'm following my teacher's directions. So that construction play. And the last one kind of makes me cringe because it really makes, sometimes I really didn't want it in my classroom, but the rough and tumble play. This does not have to be wrestling, but the concept of that kids need to be rambunctious. They need to use their energy. They need to figure out, if I bump into my friend and my friend is crying, what do I do about it? If I knock someone down, if I don't like how they're playing, do I go and push them down? Those rough, like, interactive playground activities are essential for play. And it is important to know that that is a play time just as much as, or a learning time just as much as your construction play and building your blocks, as playing a game that you've made all of these manipulatives for, and they're all doing different things, or in their fantasy play. Their playground play is just as important as all of those things. And so we as teachers get to set up the environments of each of those things so that those kids can engage in that kind of play in a safe environment. Because a lot of times whenever they start playing Spider-Man and Batman and all that, I'm like, no, we don't want fighting, we don't want, but how can I steer them in a way that it's not a battle? Maybe it's saving someone from falling off a building or whatever it is, that can engage those play times and that creativity and that social interaction. This also, during rough and tumble play, is when they're using their big body, their gross motor skills. And as we know, gross motor leads to fine motor. If they don't have their gross motor skills, if they can't run properly and they fall every time they run, it's very unlikely that they're going to be able to write. It's very unlikely that they're going to be able to sit in this chair or be able to sit on the floor. So we have to have those gross motor times, either in constructive play where it's like defined, or in our own time of play. So really encourage you, even though it makes me cringe sometimes, to really think through, how can I use my rough and tumble play to benefit my children, not just a free-for-all play. Okay, so that's the types of play. But then there are stages of play on how kids work through their skill of play. Again, I know this is a shift in brain thought, that there could be skills in play, but there are. When they are young, it's called an unoccupied behavior play. So this is when this is like your 18 months and younger, and really 2s and 3s, there are some kids that are still stuck in this unoccupied playtime. If they have not had an opportunity previously to play with other children, they'll probably be in this stage. It's the most immature level of play. Children randomly will observe things around them that catch their attention, just like bright signs or loud noises or things crashing down or something tall, something short. But if nothing engages them, they're just gonna do their own thing. They might wiggle a little bit or fidget or do maybe a repetitive motion, that because they haven't been able to engage. So they don't have the concept of, oh, if I go to this, something else will make me excited about it. They just see something and they need to have that immediate connection with it. And they're not going to interact with other kids. They might push someone if someone took their toy, but they're not playing together. So this is an unoccupied behavior of play, just where we want to find something that grabs our attention. I want to go look at the bear on the wall, or these blocks are really colorful. Those kind of things that really engage their interests. The next stage of play is the onlooker behavior of play. This is when a child observes other children playing, and it's more deliberate. They see that this kid over here is having a lot of fun, and I want to go and be part of that, but they don't really know what to do with it. So they go over there, they watch the other kid. They might hold a block. They might try and build things. They might like move it around, but they're not really doing anything with the toy. So like, say for the kitchen center, they might go to the kitchen center and throw all the toys on the floor. Now, some people might think that's play, but it's not using the kitchen stuff properly. They're not playing with it. And yes, there's not a proper and a wrong or whatever, but at the same time, the kitchen is used in an environment that you're wanting them to play in. So they don't know what to do with the apple. Are they trying to eat it? Are they sharing with a friend? They don't do any of that. So this is just engaging in a product, not really knowing what to do with it. The next is solitary play. This is when a child chooses, oh, I'm going to go to the kitchen. I see that Jane is fixing a cup of tea. Okay, I'm going to get the pizza out and I'm going to make the pizza, but they don't interact. They don't plan anything. He's just making pizza and she's making tea, and they're in the same environment. So this is called solitary play, where they're all there, they're playing, but they don't interact at all. They don't, they're just absorbed in what they're doing and how maybe the story that's in their head and their thought processes. The next one is parallel play. This might be whenever you go to the Block Center and Susie is building a tower and Johnny is building a different tower, the same product, same concept, but they're not building it together. They're not planning it out, but they might be talking about, oh, I'm building a tower. Do you see how tall mine is? Oh, mine is this tall. Mine is this tall. But they're not engaging to build one thing or one goal. And so that I saw a lot in the threes. Most of my threes would do the parallel play. They're not engaging in, oh, oh, you're the mommy and the daddy. Maybe sorry, I had Alexa go off. I'm in my sister's bedroom and I didn't even know there was an Alexa in here. But so they'll show off things. They're like, oh, look at my tower, look at my lion, or my the mommy or whatever. But they won't say, hey, you be the mommy and you be the daddy, and then we're gonna be in our little house with the little figurines playing. The fifth kind is associative play. And this is when the children play together with the same materials and the same activity. They share materials and they might decide to do the same thing. So we make a zoo. Okay, we're gonna all make a zoo. I'm so excited, we're gonna make a zoo out of all the blocks and let's go get the animals, but we're just gonna make a zoo. However, there's no planning involved. So they don't think through what needs to be in the zoo. They don't talk about it. They don't engage with other kids. This is honestly more 3s, 4s, and transition. The younger ones, I wouldn't anticipate them doing that. You might have a couple that might, if they've had a lot of older kids playing with, but they're working towards making a common goal, but not planning it out beforehand. So that's associative play. And the last one is cooperative play. As you can imagine, this is when they do plan. This is when they say, okay, we're gonna make a zoo, or we are going to make a grocery store. And at the grocery store, we need a buggy, we need whatever we need to have. We have roles, you're doing this job, you're doing this job, and planning it out before we play. that is our goal as far as long-term play goal. In the book that I read, this one, The Purposeful Play, they were suggesting that they wouldn't really see kids doing it independently until like 2nd or 3rd grade, where they really can plan out a play opportunity as the children without teacher interaction and follow through with it. So if we think that as our long-term goal, if we back it up, we know that in our environment, independent cooperative play is probably unlikely. You can do supported cooperative play, and we're going to talk about how we do that in just a few minutes. But at this point, does anyone have any questions about these things? Either the stages of play or the types of play?
I don't have a question, Ashley, but I do have something that supports this.
Okay.
I take training several years ago at the church down the street where they had it, where there is also different stages of block development that pretty much correlate with this on how well they build blocks, and you can see that they develop their block play by how much they do these kinds of things and how they interact, and then how much more complicated they get with their building structures. That's also a good way to figure out where they're at with their development because of what they can do with their block play as they develop more complicated structures and think and plan how they put things together and such. So it's a neat thing to hear you say all that, because that's exactly what they told me when they were doing block play and how important block play is to the development of all of these kinds of things.
Very interesting. I'll have to look that up. But find a good resource for that to share. I'll send it out to y'all because that's a great thought. Tangible visuals of these are so variant on different children, but if we had something like a block play or an example, that would be awesome, so we can know what we're looking for through all these things. Back, just a logistical thing, when you got my PowerPoint, the notes for all these things are down at the bottom below the slides. So if you are like, oh, what did she say about that? All the notes are down at the bottom. So just so you know, if there's typos, I'm sorry, but they're all there. Okay, any other comments, thoughts about this so far? All right, let's move on. So if our goal is to help children engage through these stages of play, we need to give children time to use this play. So how are we going to plan for that? We want them to be creative. We want them to be innovative. We want them to explore, and we want them to develop brains that think about their interactions, not just, oh, Miss Ashley told me I need to go build a tower and it needs to be 5 blocks tall. Like them processing it and engaging it. Now, that does not mean that we're going to say, okay, our classroom's just play and we just have blocks. And I'm gonna go tell them, okay, why don't y'all make a zoo today? Or we're talking about pets. Do you wanna make cages for a pet? Now, all those conversations are great, but we need to do a little pre-planning for that. So how do we plan for play-based learning? If we imagine the space that keeping the child, so we have our room. I'm gonna pause for a second, let me retract. So how are we gonna plan for play-based learning? So if we start with just our classroom, we're setting up our classroom at the beginning of the year. We want children to be able to engage and play. First thing we need to know is it's gonna be flexible. You're not gonna set up your counter or your shelf at the beginning of the year and it look the same at the end of the year. We need to be flexible to say, okay, today we're working on this, and so my room needs to be set up this way. There might need to be a divider. There might need to be no dividers. And I know it's a little bit complicated with our Sunday school environment, but if you can set it up in a way that the shelves are still there. You can still access the toys, but not maybe divided as much, or maybe an open room versus a closed room in the sense of how you close it off. I think that we'll be okay with that. So just thinking flexibly with your classroom and knowing that it'll adjust for different activities. Have fun with it, because kids enjoy their environment, and we want them to enjoy their environment. So let them have a little bit of a say. Say, okay, we're going to build this today, or we're going to work on talking about farms today. Where do you think we should make a farm as a class? You know, and you might need to move the cabinet, or have someone come help you move the cabinets beforehand or during, or whatever you feel comfortable. But it might mean that we need to rearrange our furniture a little bit. So setting up our classroom in a flexible way is the first thing to think about. And then, sorry, I'm reading my notes. Then we need to think about, okay, so what are our goals as far as the activities? And are we going to incorporate the ABCs, 1, 2, 3s? Are we going to the numeracy and the letter C? Are we going to only focus on social skills? So as teachers, we're thinking through what are our goals through this? And then we're thinking about how am I going to let them engage in it, that I'm not just showing them everything. Okay, so how do I plan for teaching in a play base? Like I said, knowing your goals. Next is knowing your students. In the first week, you're not going to know your students, not the first month. But as you go, you need the best play environment will be a teacher that knows their students, knows their interests, knows what makes them upset, knows what discourages them or what encourages them. And y'all, I've seen everyone do that excellently. So just keep up that so that you can use that information as you as you plan. So when you're doing all that, we're setting up an environment that is a risk-taking environment. The kids are happy to come, they're happy to engage, and they know that they're going to be safe. They're not going to be scolded because they accidentally knocked down a building, or they're not going to be made fun of because they didn't know how to use Play-Doh to make the letter A, or whatever it is, that the environment is that they feel safe. And then think about how are you going to teach them how to play. So making sure I'm not jumping forward in my notes. Okay, yes. So we're teaching them how to play. So like I said before, some kids will come and they know how to interact with their friends. They have 3 siblings that they've been playing with, and 2 of them are in 2nd grade and whatever. They know how to play, but they don't know how to play necessarily in a learning environment. So we have, as teachers, that's our job if you're doing a play-based learning opportunity. So first off, we direct teach. We say, okay, today we're going to work on, we'll just use the zoo example, playing in the zoo. We're going to play in a zoo, and let's go back. Let's do one that we actually do, pet and vet. So we're going to make a pet store, and we're going to have the veterinarian be there and tell me what you know. And we go through the conversations about what do you know about pets and vets. You might have a book to read. You might have a song. This is your big circle time. And last year, a lot of times I did my circle time after playtime, which is fine. But as I was going through the summer reading and really diving into this, I was like, I really need to change that, because if I really want them to engage in what I've planned and know what I need to do, a quick morning meeting after everyone gets there would be ideal. So if I were to plan my day today or my classroom, I would say everyone gets there, have a couple things for them to engage in, and then pause, do your whole group instruction or do an engaging conversation of what we want them to learn, and then move on to the playtime, because the kids don't know what your goals are. And it's not bad to tell the kids, today we want to learn how to share. How do you think that you know, how have you seen your friends share? Use stories. Okay, so I'm jumping ahead. So direct instruction, just telling them what you want them to do. Inquiry. If you're teaching them how to play, ask them questions. Ask them, how do you think we should make a pet store? Yes, you probably have already a place where the animals can go when they're dropped off by their owner, and they have a doctor section, but they might have another idea, and you might need to adjust it by what the kids say, or let them adjust it to make it a good working environment for them. Also, for inquiry, on day 2, after the kids have engaged in the play, I mean, one time, maybe 2 times, take a break, maybe the next day, maybe 2 days down the road, and say, okay, what's working? What's not working? Let's talk through this. And I know that sounds funny for younger kids, but I know my daughter, who is 2, she has ideas and she has thoughts about things. Mommy, I don't need the blankets. We need the blankets over here. Or if they're playing baby doll, having the high chair over in the kitchen. But mommy, I want to feed her outside. You know, they have thoughts. And so don't be afraid to engage those young ones in the conversation of play, of how do I play? Oh, I saw you, Madeline, I saw you wrap your baby up in a blanket. Were you able to keep it on there, or do you need help? Or how could you wrap the blanket on the baby better? Or, you know, like asking them those questions even at a young age. They are learning words, and you're wanting to give them words that they can use to ask you, hey, mommy, or me, you could say Miss Ashley, I need help wrapping, swaddling the baby. So you've had those conversations because they're asking questions. So letting them ask questions, you asking them questions to lead their play. The next is storytelling. This can be at the beginning, this can be at the end, this can be in the middle. This is using the method of telling a story. It can be in a book, or it can be a made-up story that helps them know what to do. So you can use an example you saw in the classroom. Johnny and Susie, I saw, were playing over there in the kitchen, and Susie was making him tea, but I saw that her tea fell all over the floor. What could Johnny do to help him? You know, like, and talk through those stories, which I know those are things that we do, but being intentional about it and actually planning them when you're planning how you're going to engage the kids in play. Think through your stories. When you're making your lesson plans, think through, how can I engage my kids, my students, in planning their play and thinking about their play before letting them loose in the kitchen or letting them loose in the blocks. That's for a different time. But if we're wanting them to do a specific task, how can I engage them in that? And lastly, teaching and playing is by coaching, walking around and saying, oh, Johnny, I see that your block has a really good base on it. How could you make it sturdier? How could you make it where the cats fit inside the house? Hey, Susie, can you come over and help him stay, you know, like, use those words that you want them to learn. In the vet clinic, oh, you're a veterinarian? What is your job? Like, go specifically to that child and coach them through, oh, you need to go get the cat. Now go over there. This is how you open the clamp of the cage or whatever. Using your words to teach them what are they supposed to do so they can use that vocabulary as they interact with other kids. Because what the goal long term, like we talked about, the most advanced, if you want to call it that, type of play is when they're planning, they're talking, and they're working out their problems with each other. So we want to give them the skills to do that. So if we're thinking through our play environment, giving them those words, giving those opportunities, giving those things to them. So again, it takes a mind shift as far as planning, because I like to plan products, or I like to plan an environment that I put them in, and oh, I'm just gonna put them there. But I also need to think through, how am I going to get them to my goals? So just keep that in your brain as we keep going. So how do we make the whole day feel like play? Now, I know we have to practice reading at the older ages. The younger kids, we have to learn how to go potty. We have to do all these things in school. That's part of the reason why kids come to school. We have to learn how to share. We have to learn how to walk in the hallway. We have to learn how to wash our hands. That's really important. So how can we make our whole day feel like play? Because that's what kids do. They love to play. So if we think the words that we want, or I was thinking through the words of how to engage them throughout the day. I want them to have joy the whole day. Joy is happiness. Joy is positive. Joy is a safe place. Joy is a place that the kids will feel safe to take risks. So if we have a joyful classroom, and we have a classroom that the kids know their boundaries, they can be happy there. So, and they can be heard, they can be empowered, they can be engaged, and they can work hard. So we need to think about how we can build that environment. Each classroom will look different. And as a teacher, you need to feel empowered that you can make your classroom joyful through play. So taking that hat of, oh, I got to get all these tasks done, and saying, okay, I'm going to put my hat on of how can I teach my kids how to play, but learn these things, you will go home happier. I know the days at home when my kids have played well, and I have set up an environment where they are doing Play-Doh, and we have learned our letters through Play-Doh, and they know the letter sound because we talked about it, or whatever it is. I feel confident. I feel successful, but they played all day, and it's good. And so I encourage you, as you're going through things, don't think about, oh, what product do I need to produce? Let's think about how can we get the kids to engage so that they learn it. I might be going faster than I really need to. We're going on time because I have a lot of things. Okay. Now I'm going to give a couple examples of how, through what I was reading, an example of how I would do it at different age levels. So instructing at different age levels. So starting at 18 months, you can do these things at all ages. I just divided it up to each age, and you would just tweak it to meet the need of your your children group, your age group. So at 18 months, if I was doing sharing and developing empathy, I'm going to talk about doing it as like a home, playing with babies and stuff like that. So in a large group, I would show how would I take care of a baby. I would have a bottle, and we would talk about the bottle, and I would have a blanket, and I would have maybe a stroller if we have one, or a baby bed, or their extra clothes, and have a washcloth. It doesn't have to be in water, but it could be a washcloth that they pretend with. And so I'm sitting in my whole group setting or a small group setting, and I say, oh, look at my baby, isn't she cute? She has cute little cheeks. And then I would talk about, oh, she's crying, and act it out. Show them how to do it. Not everyone, not every child, especially 18 months, has a baby brother or baby sister that they've seen feed the baby to. Now, they love babies. Madeline, I don't know if Kara's here because I haven't been here, but Madeline loves babies. She would hold a baby. She still holds a baby all the time. Some kids are that way, but some kids don't know what to do with a baby doll. So show them. Wrap them up in a blanket. Show them how to wrap up in a blanket. Talk through it. This is a blanket. We're going to swaddle the blanket. Why would we need to swaddle a baby? Oh, because they get cold? Oh, I just heard them go potty in their diaper or poo-poo in their diaper, and they can change their diaper, whatever you want to get out of it. But it's teaching empathy for the baby doll. Baby dolls don't have to just be this thing over in the corner that some kids lug around. They can be teaching love. They can be teaching how to engage kids on caring for someone else. And you're showing them that at 18 months. I have my baby. What do I do with it? Now, some kids might never do it again, especially at 18 months, but they have seen it. they have heard it, and they have the opportunities to engage in babies. So after you show them that, repeat those words the next time you see them. Oh, I see you're swaddling the baby. Give them those words. They might not repeat them. They're 18 months old. They might not have those words, but they will develop them. I know those teachers that are teaching those classrooms know that they develop those words if we give them to them. So that would be what might be a instruction of play in an 18-month classroom. After your big group, you would send them over, or you don't have to send them, but set up the environment that has the blanket, has the bottle, has the diaper, has the washcloth, that you've shown them how to use it, and you'll see them imitate you doing those things. And then you can go coach them. Oh, I see that she has a little mark on her cheek. Let's wash it off using the washcloth or whatever. So that's what your 18 months would look like. For 2-year-olds, again, our goal is sharing and empathy. That's what our objective is. We're teaching them how to share and how to have empathy. So in 2-year-olds, you might play hot potato. We all know that game. We pass around whatever, beanbag, hat, whatever you want to pass around. Hot potato, you sing hot potato, and or you can play it to music, and when the music stops, whoever has the potato is out. So we're teaching sharing, we're passing it along. A lot of kids want to just hold it and whatever, but pass it along and then we get out. And a lot of times those first rounds of hot potato, they'll be really sad that they got out. And they sit over the side, and then bring them back in whenever your time to do another round. Maybe the 2-year-olds, they only sit out for one time around, or whatever you want to do, or maybe they have something funny that goes on their head. However you want to engage them, but they feel that feeling of, I didn't like that. That's what we want them to feel, okay? But then we're going to have joy because we're going to bring them back and we're going to engage them in it, and they're playing a game and they're sharing with each other. So we're taking that movement of sharing the potato, having to get out, having a little bit of sadness. Then we're going to have a conversation with the kids. Okay, we played hot potato. Okay, Kaylee, you got out first. How did that make you feel? Was that like, and just engage with them. Were you happy? Were you sad? Oh, hey, Jill, did you see that her face was sad? Give them the clues that those things, because what we're doing is teaching them empathy. We're teaching them how to engage with the other students. And so then go back to the game, play it another time. Pause again, talk about it, use your words, give them the things, and then give them the opportunities to do it on their own. Now, I was thinking, okay, how could I get them to do it on their own? Well, if initially I taught them a song, it could be any song, it could be hot potato, 1, 2, 3, hot potato, stop at me. You could do that. Or you could do your ABCs, A, B, C, D, and you stop at Z, or whatever other things you're working on. You could use any song, but giving them a song to do gives it where they can do it themselves. Now, if it's a radio and you're pushing the button, another way you could do it, but they're not going to be able to do it on their own because unless you give a role of someone's the button pushing. But you could take it outside to the playground, and you have your beanbag out in the playground, or you have a ball that is cleanable for COVID or something like that, that they could pass around and do it outside. And you will see them play those games. You're giving them a ruled, constructive, not constructive, what was it called? That type of play. Games with rules, a game with rules for them to play, to recreate on their own. They have to communicate, they show sharing, they have to show empathy. So hot potato is a good one. Another one, or for age 3, using those magnetile blocks is what I'm gonna talk about. You know, the magnet ones that you can build with. In large group, show the kids how you can build with them. Now, I'm gonna do a side note right here. I last year had the magnetiles out, and we were building, and we were making tall towers and short towers and stuff. And one of the students said, well, how tall am I? It was a great mini lesson on length. I had the child lay down on the ground, and we put magnetiles along each other to see how many magnetiles they were. That game, the magnetiles became measurements. They measured how tall they were, how long the blocks were, for weeks afterwards. So that's just another way you can use Magna-Tiles. That's a side note. So building a tower in 3-year-olds, or measuring, whatever you want to do. Again, doing a large group instruction and talking about what could you make from these blocks? What could you build? Could you make a zoo? Could you make a shopping center? Could you make a castle? What can you do? And then show them how to do it. Some kids will have great spatial reasoning and know that the triangles don't fit with the squares, or the little squares don't fit with the big square, however you want to do it, but show them how to do it. And then ask them, what else could we build? What else could we do with it? Could we make a skyscraper? That's a vocabulary word. Could we make a bus? Could we make, and have them think through things that they can make. That way their Magna-Tile Center is more engaging. They have ideas, they have thoughts. Oh, we made a bus. How can I make a bus with the Magna-Tiles, kind of thing. The other thing that this summer I found, and I didn't find it from me getting it off the internet, but some of us went to the inclusion conference, and they sent out a big box of stuff. This is from Lakeshore, but they have Magna-Tiles that have letters, the uppercase and lowercase. My children are loving these. So I've mixed them in with our other Magna-Tiles, and so they can make maybe a label, like it could say pet shop. You could have the words over to the side that they could copy the words, like if you had them posted on the wall, or a grocery store. But I just am in love with these. They have, whoops, that's in lowercase and uppercase, and I'll show you the box. Some other people might have gotten it in their if they went to that same inclusion conference, but you can get them at Lakeshore. This is what it looks like.
Ashley?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Can you hear me? This is
Yes.
Susie. We have 2 sets that we're going to have in the office for all the classes to use as well.
Perfect. And they're awesome. I really encourage you to. They can be used letter recognition, but also to build words and stuff like that, or just play. Those 18-month kids, if they have the letters, just seeing the letters and building stuff with it is really engaging too. So I'm glad y'all have some for in there. So for 3s, big group, talk about it, go then have a center so they can build and make those things in. And then 4s, again, working towards planning out what their play looks like. So 4s, transitions, really 3s probably couldn't make the plans for it, but they could help be part of it. But making a grocery store. So I know we do our grocery store in the other room. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that this year, but in your classroom, you can make a grocery store or a shopping center or whatever you want to do. I'm just using grocery store as an example. Before you set out, the whole class as a store of what you want it to be, have some conversations with your kids in a whole group setting. Say, okay, this week we're going to be talking about a grocery store. Now, I want you to put on your thoughts and think about a time when you might have gone to the store. What did you see? What did you not? And have some conversations about what would our room look like if we turned it into a grocery store? Or if you want to do a zoo or whatever, you can apply it to a lot of things. And then say, okay, what do we need? What are the roles in the classroom? So you're teaching them how to plan their play as a whole group. We're saying, okay, there is a checkout person. There is a shopper. There is a restocker. There are whatever other roles, a baby at the grocery store, because we all know they're there. Whatever the roles can be, talk through them. Then talk about how would that person act? How would you do? Having those conversations of what would it look like for you to play at the grocery store? Then have them help you set up the room. Over here, we want to have all our vegetables together. Oh, that shelf would have a great place for vegetables. Let's go put the shelves. That way they know where to clean it up too. That's the other part of it. So, oh, the pasta goes over here. Okay, Johnny, go take the pasta. You have all the pasta stuff. Go take it over there, put it on the shelf, and have them be part of the play. Play isn't only the doing, but it's the setup, it's the planning. Our goal is for them to cognitively be engaging in that. Oh, we need labels for in the grocery store. The grocery store said HEB at the top. Oh, who wants to make a sign that says HEB? I can make and print off a sign that's beautiful that says HEB, but it is going to mean so much more to the kids if Tiffany made the sign that said HEB and Johnny decided where it needed to go. That is going to be a more learning environment than me setting up an environment. Now, my 18 months, you're going to need to be setting up your environment. You can't have Madeline make an HEB sign. Well, she might color the HEB sign. That could be a way they could be engaged in those signs, but they're not going to know, oh, all the pasta goes over here. So tweak it for your age group, but engaging them in the thought process of what is going on in that play setting. The next day, have that meeting of story time. Oh, Susie, I saw that you were shopping at the grocery store. Tell me about that. How did it go yesterday? Who helped you in the grocery store? Ask those questions, get them to think about it, and then go let them play again. Play is fun. Remember, we want them to be joyful and play and engaged. Next, does anyone need to take a break? Good. Take a break if you need to. I don't feel, y'all can just walk away and then come back. All right. So how do I meet all my objectives with play? The biggest thing is planning. Plan beforehand. Know what you want to do. Know that your objectives that you want them to learn. And then in your brain, don't necessarily put it in, I have to have it look like this. We're learning how to write the letter A. It doesn't have to be with a pencil writing A. Pencils are very long in the fine motor skills. Being able to pencil grip and create a shape is a high-end skill. We want to back it up, making A's with Play-Doh, finding the A in a sensory bucket. Whatever it is, know your objectives and know, okay, what could a check on, oh, he got that, look like? Is my goal writing or is my goal recognition of an A? Is my goal letter sounds or is it that they can make a word out of it? What is my goal? And then what might it look like for different kids? It's not going to look the same for everyone in play. Now, if we go to like where we're doing a test and stuff like that, everyone can have the same product. But when we think through play, and if we want kids to learn through play, what could it look like? Knowing that play is kids practicing skills. We don't expect for them when they're building a tower and they're in the block center to build a tower perfectly the first time, and we know that. But how can we build an environment that they can work towards building a tall tower that doesn't fall down, or work towards writing their name with a pencil? That's our ultimate goal, but how can we get there? Using Play-Doh to do it, using the Magna-Tiles, different things to get to that goal eventually when they're 4. You 18-month-old class, you are helping those 4s learn how to spell their name. It's good to have their name posted. It's good for them to put stickers on the letters of their name. Those things are all great to build to our end goal. And just think outside the box of how could I engage them in that and not just have to have that one product. And the next part that's dear and true to my heart is knowing how I want to assess them. Assessments can be daunting. And especially in preschool, sometimes we were like, oh, we don't need to assess them. They can just be here. But it's good for you as a teacher to know, okay, Tiffany knows how to sing her ABCs, but cannot recognize any of them as a 3-year-old. Now, what do I need to do about that? What kind of play environments do I need to develop so that Tiffany can start recognizing her letters and knowing that it goes with the song that she already knows? So that's called a formative assessment. Assessment where you know your goals and you look at each individual child and say, what do they know? What do they not know? And then that informs your planning. So if you're back to 18 months, if you're learning how to take care of a baby, you could have already had the station there. And I see that Charlotte doesn't even know how to pick up the baby. Okay, well, one of the things I need to teach her is how to pick up the baby. And I might make a mental note, but I know that I forget mental notes. So I would jot it down. One of the ways that I jot down my formative notes is I just make a folded piece of paper. Doesn't have to be fancy, doesn't have to be organized by kid, but just so I can take a pen and jot it down. Like, oh, I saw that, oh, I need to work on Charlotte, doesn't know how to pick up a baby. And I wrote that down. And then you can go back when you're planning those things. They can be more organized than that and have like a checklist where each kid can build a block 4 blocks tall, or whatever your objective is. Sharing, was everyone able to share without screaming today, or sitting in their chair at lunch? What are those formative things? If it's sitting in the chair at lunch, oh, they can't sit in the chair at lunch. Okay, how can I put that into my play? Okay, so we need to have some chairs. We might need to play a game of stand up, sit down, stand up, sit down. Make up a game of learning how to sit in a chair. That can be play too. All of the things, and that's one of the joyful things about preschool is you have the opportunities that you can let them play and engage and do those things. So, I just want to share some ideas. Now, I was planning on originally doing this at the church, so I had a lot more of the tangible examples. So some of these things y'all don't have up there, but I know you have other things. These are things that I brought from my house to show examples on how you can do these different things of play. So I put on the slide is just some goals. Just some goals. Sorry? Is someone trying to say? Okay. Just some goals that I know that in preschool we want to go through. We want to go fine motor, gross motor. We want them to learn Bible stories, sharing, letter recognition, numeracy. I'm not sure if that's how you spell numeracy. I looked up 3 places and they all spell it differently. So if that's wrong, I'm sorry. Learning independence, learning sound, letter sounds, shapes, colors. These are all things we do. So I brought a couple of examples of how you can take a manipulative, turn it into not only this is how you do it, to letting the kids explore it. So I've already talked about those magnetile letters. We can use it when we're making a zoo. We can use them anytime we have anything magnetic. They can stick on, like I have a whiteboard that's magnetic. So say you're using blocks, but they want to have letters in it and they don't want to create the letters. You could maybe put the sign up and help them set that up, or have a magnetic thing available to them to use that. So that's one tool that you do. Puppets. Puppets are excellent for role-playing, engaging, sharing, making up stories, being free to take risks. Let the kids play with the puppets. They can take on other roles. The elephant, but the elephant doesn't have to be an elephant. It could be an elephant. The book that I love is Emma Kate, whenever the elephant goes to school and the elephant makes his own lunch. They don't have to be just at the zoo. Let the kids play with puppets. Now, put a COVID hat on. You can make puppets. That each kid has an elephant puppet. Okay, so I know that this year is a little bit tough with sharing things, but there are ways that we can engage puppets for learning and for using in our centers. We don't just have to make the product, we can actually use it in our class. This is another one that we got with the inclusion conference, but I really love it. But there are ways that you can use other products the same way. So inside here is a board. You could use styrofoam if you wanted to make your own board. And then you have pegs that go on it. One has 5 pegs. So we're working on patterns. We want the kids to learn patterns. You can have them make patterns. They can draw patterns. They can use stickers for patterns. They can use this to make a wall in the zoo. Whatever, however you want. We need a patterned wall and engage it with that. But might be a station that they do. They're washable. Those kind of things. Also, this set had. Sorry, I don't want it to fall on the ground. Go and get this out. Numbers, little card numbers, so you could do counting. Madeline, the other day, and I had a picture that I was going to show y'all, but since the screenshot's not working very well, I'm not going to worry with that. But Madeline did this the other day. I said, Madeline is 2. Here's the number 3. I said, okay, we need 3 circles, and we're putting 3. Now you're like, I do this all the time in class. What I'm doing is showing you that you're already teaching through play. You taught her how to do 3. Oh, wait, you have 3? Let's count them again. 1, 2, 3. And then later, you've done it in a coaching setting where you've taught her how to do it. This can be out there, and she can do it again. She knows to put the tiles on there. She knows that you can put 4 next. Let's count 1, 2, 3, 4. My 3 fell, but that's okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. And they're giving them opportunities to practice their counting. Patterns, numbers, and then this set in addition had addition and subtraction, but really in our environment we don't use those. But building numbers is play. You already do it. A lot of y'all already do it. Use your creativity on how you can have them build numbers. Have it over in the block center. We want to have towers 6 blocks high. Have a huge 6 over there. Count to 6 in your whole group. Give them those words to use in their play. Okay, so we'll put that over here. Letters can be the same thing. We want them to build word. We want them to know their letters. I mean, starting very young. This is another set where it just has letter blocks. It doesn't have to be letter blocks. You can print them out. But we want them to copy words, or you just play with the letters. Again, 18 months. I'm telling y'all about 18 months some because Madeline loves these things. She just puts them on here. They're letters. She's seeing the letters. She's seeing something there. I go over and say, oh, you put the letter M on the block. You're teaching them letters. It's just engaging with it. 4-year-olds, you can build words, have a word card. They build with a picture, whatever letter sound you're working with. That is play. You're already doing it. You already know how to do it. Think of your objective. What do you want them to do? Let them do it independently after you've taught them how to do it. Making numbers. I'm sure everyone has heard of an abacus. Abacuses are great for making numbers and letting kids play making numbers. They're easy to clean for COVID style because you can just wipe them down. But they're all 10s. And now you don't have to say to your 2-year-olds, let's make 10. No, you don't have to do that, but they can count 1, 2, 3, and it just slides over. It's not messy. Okay, you made 10. Yay, I'm so excited. Can you make 10 again? And they can push all of them over. They might just play with it. It's a good tactile feeling and engagement. Again, going back to that initial play kind of situation, they might see something that makes a sound. Ooh, it makes a sound. But then you can go over and coach them. Oh, you're making such a great sound. Can you make a song out of it? Let's count to 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's just another way you could play with an abacus. It doesn't have to be, oh, let's make 5. Or it doesn't have to be that way. Think outside the box. How could you use an abacus that isn't the way that you think of the kids? Let kids decide what you do with it. Hey, what do you think this is? How could you use this? Oh, they're counting colors. Oh, which one's the yellow one? And work through that. There's lots of things that you can do with an abacus. So if you don't have one, I encourage you to get one, or you can make one. You can make one using beads and string, or beads in a pipe cleaner. Everyone can have a pipe cleaner with beads on it, and they work on making their numbers out of pipe cleaners and beads. So you don't have to buy one, even though they're fun to have. Magnetic letters and shapes, kind of things, are also a good thing to have. These are really small. You probably can't. My young ones can't use those, but they have bigger ones. I know that Really Good Stuff has some big ones like that big. But these are little, letting them play with them, learn what makes a K. Like there's a straight stick, talk about it. Let them use that to display. 2-year-olds, they can learn what a K looks like. Can you find the K in the bucket? And then put it on the magnet or whatever. It doesn't have to be magnet. Also, I'm sure everyone knows about Play-Doh mats. Miss Susie made a lot of Play-Doh mats this year. I want to be an encourager of you guys engaging with Play-Doh mats. This is one that I printed off. This is a ladybug talking about insects. The number 1, you make 1 dot on it, and you have all the way through 10. Play-Doh mats are great. That's using those fine motor skills of building that strength, but also engaging your numbers. You could make letters off of Play-Doh mats. I have also shapes. These are free from Pinterest. But it has actual things that are the shapes, and then they can put the Play-Doh around the shape, write the word if they want to, but the word's there. You don't have to write it. You can also use dry erase marker on this after they've done the Play-Doh mat. It's laminated. It's just a piece of paper. Play-Doh mats are great for reinforcing skills, but through play. Let the kids play with it. I know with COVID this year, I think everyone's having their own Play-Doh. Put their name on it. Let them play with it. It's a great learning tool. It's not only just a mess. It is a learning tool that kids can learn a lot through Play-Doh. Letters, numbers, shapes, colors. I really encourage you to do that. Another resource, I did not put it on here. It's a European resource. They have lots of play mats that just are easily printable. It's called Sparklebox. And you have to watch some of the spellings because like color has a U in it. But for our little ones, it's not that big of a deal. But they have hundreds of pre-formatted Play-Doh mats, and they're all free. It's called Sparklebox. I really encourage everyone to just go and explore that. They have labels. They have pretty much everything you need. It's from the UK, but it's a great resource and it's completely free. Sparklebox. Other than that, those are the products that I brought to show. But up at the school, you'll have so much stuff that you can engage in. Play stamps, you can dress up, you can do all those things to meet those play goals and your goals. So I want us to unmute ourselves if you feel like you have something to say, but put that COVID hat back on and think about what we've talked about in play and how could you help each other brainstorm. Okay, like I said with puppets, you can make a puppet out of brown paper sack and have each kid have a puppet. And that's their product for the day, but also they're using it to play in the zoo or use it to play wherever you want, however you're planning it. Does anyone have any other play-based thoughts for COVID? Because I know like we can't do sensory bins because of the cleaning purposes. But there are ways we can get around it. So I really encourage you to think about it. So does anyone have any thoughts or ideas on that? No one?
You can still do sensory on those little trays that we have. So divide it, right? Or even on those little boxes, plastic boxes. You know, it won't be on one discovery table, but you can have.
I think my understanding, and I haven't been in all y'all's trainings, but my understanding is you have to make sure you be able to clean the whole thing. So you can't have rice because you can't clean it.
In Sunday school, a lot of teachers don't like to mess with the sensory bin because it makes a big mess. So they put it in a box, like a shoe box, a clear shoe box, and you shake it and you find it. And it's
where it's enclosed.
Yeah, it's closed.
And you
they
could
don't
do
like
Ziploc
everything
bags.
all over.
That would be
You
a
could
good
do
way to do it.
Ziploc bags too.
Yeah, you could do it in
Ziploc
Ziploc
bags.
bags too. But we used to have a lot of those little boxes with like a clasp on it, so they kind of closed. They
Mhm.
were kind of small, like 4 inches cubic, you know.
Uh-huh. That would be a good way to do it.
Maybe I was thinking maybe use something that is not too expensive as far as not rice that is colored, but something that you can actually throw away. Maybe
For each kid.
Yeah,
Well-
but you'd be throwing away 14 of them or 16 of them.
no, if you were to have I mean, you're gonna have the kids in groups of 4 or whatever, play with Magna tiles. I mean, can they be
Or in the office, you could use that because it's easily you can throw out the paper.
right?
know-
I mean, the like you have confetti or
Punch holes.
there's stuff that is not as expensive of having to buy the rice is really not that expensive, but it takes a lot of time dyeing it and all that. But there's some, what do you call that? The discovery table, the environment part that you can
So
be able to throw away, or if you keep it. I know it's a pain, but if you have those little boxes, like you were saying, or those little trays, and everybody has their own.
I
I
also-
think there's ways to do it, to have that.
You know, Barbara, I have like 8 plastic trays if you want to use them. 8 plastic trays with a good inch-high lip.
Yeah, and what I keep are the open trays, you know, the little, and then I bought mine at the dollar store, and they have, I mean, if you put a little bit of rice in there and hide some letters, or they can do it like
Yeah.
that,
Also, they're
or a little bit of water, or whatever, and play individually.
Yeah, but those water beads are even worse than rice.
No,
You
the
know,
water
holding the
beads
germ.
water beads to me are pretty I mean, you might be able to save them for each child in a little bag. Like you do the Play-Doh, you can save their beads. Those
yeah,
are
and that's the thing. This year we're gonna have to explore like what is allowed, what isn't allowed. Is it worth saving the rice for each kid? Is it worth
You
shaving?
could do that. Put the rice in a bag.
Yeah. And we're gonna have to explore that. The other thing I thought of was like shaving cream, if it's the hypoallergenic one, or a bowl of soapy water, and
Yeah.
change it out between each group. That you do still need to sanitize the product, like the ABCs or whatever is in it, but that's something you can dump out. You know, it's easy to dump out a bowl of water or something like that.
I was going to say that what we always did growing up, like for even our little pools outside, you just put a little bit of bleach in the water if you know the right ratios. It's not going to hurt the kids, but it's going to disinfect everything. I was wondering if we're allowed to use like a water table doing that.
I'll let Michelle answer.
I'm unmuting. I don't think that we would be able to, Susie. We would have
Okay.
to each. We would just need to be certain that that wouldn't be harmful to them. So
Okay. And the other thing I was planning on doing was to just have them have their own a gallon Ziploc bag as a sensory thing, because they can feel it and see it. You know, in the bucket, they really can't feel the things, but in a big gallon Ziploc bag, if you get the thick, you know, freezer ones, I can put gel in there, I can put water beads in there, I can put rice in there, and they can each have their own baggie for sensory things, was what I was gonna do.
Yeah. You know, you can even tape it, like for the little ones, if you don't want them to go all over,
Right.
put the bag
Tape
and
it to
put a
the
little bit of
table.
tape, and they can play like that.
Right, I was gonna do that, tape it onto the table.
But yeah, it's just you have to go with disposable stuff that you can,
Yeah.
you know, the base of the sensory not what you're putting in it, but what is.
And I
the taste
have
of the water.
another question. So that's sensory, but if we, like, think about if we're wanting to do, we're setting up like I've used numerous times, the grocery store environments. Now we know we're gonna have to clean a lot as they go through the different sessions. So give me some thoughts on how you would help them moderate, because they're not gonna have the whole classroom. So how would we do that? Would you set up it as a small area and let the other kids do other things? Or would you set up as a whole classroom? Just some thoughts on that. I just want everyone to think, start their brain ticking on how would we do this in this environment?
I'm thinking about making something like a special center, like a cookie shop kind of ice cream store. My kids are all 5 years old. I'm just let them do just one. I would have 4 different groups. So the Monday is number 1 group using it. Only then I clean it end of the day, and like a Tuesday, they can only number 2 group is using it. So they can just go just 1 time a week.
Right.
That's my plan.
I like that idea. Any other thoughts on that?
Collecting a lot of grocery stuff.
I know, but
Putting it in and out.
If it's paper, how are you going to sanitize it?
You can put tape
Oh,
on the outside.
I would throw it away. Oh, okay.
Well, you could throw it away, but you could always tape it.
Student, I guess.
You could always what?
You could tape it, like put clear masking tape around it, the outside.
Oh,
That's
the
how they
paper.
have it at the Children's Museum. All of their boxes are all fully, quote unquote, laminated, in the sense of they put masking tape all the way around it. And so they walk around at the Children's Museum with Clorox wipes and wipe all of their boxes down.
That's a good idea. Also, have any of y'all ever used that play foam sensory? No?
Plain or?
No, it's play foam.
The phloem?
The foam.
Yeah, the little bitty beads that stick together.
Yeah. Have y'all used that?
Yeah, it can be pretty fun. I have made ice cream out of it, or it can get a little messy.
Oh, does it? Okay.
But it's good to have it. That will be something that you will put in a tray. So try to keep it.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that. Okay.
For your age, they might
Probably
be
too little.
Too little. Check the age on that, Yolanda. I don't know that it would be something the 2-year-old group could use.
Yeah, right. I was just wondering about that.
Yeah,
I saw it at Home Goods yesterday.
Arlene, I think you had a question.
I do, and my brain is not wrapping around this COVID thing. Are we expected to spray down a puzzle after they're done using it, or spray down everything after they're done using it? Or to me, I'm just like, if we have a sensory bin and we have it in those little student boxes, the ones that close and open, or we have it in a tray and we have 14 of them and we have them filled with rice, isn't there like a 3-day period or something where for viruses, or say you could leave it out for 5 days and it just goes away without you having to wash it or throw it away? Or do we have to be able to spray everything down?
So I can answer that. The licensing says not to utilize toys that we cannot disinfect. So if it's something that's going to go from child to child, it has to be disinfected in between use. If it's something you're going to give them individually and then put away for a week and not pull it back out, that is past the point of how long the virus could live. Is that what you're asking? I'm not.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, can we have a sensory bin with rice that we put away for 2 weeks? Because we don't play with Discovery bins all that often.
Yeah. But are you going to let all 14 of your children go to the same Discovery bin? That's what we're trying to eliminate.
No, I'm saying so that they could have the tactile and the sensory thing of it. I'm just saying, I don't really understand how, like when they're in the kitchen, are we really gonna have to go and spray down everything between each child?
Well, that's why we're going to have groups of kids that rotate. We are going to do a little bit of cleaning in between the group rotations, like as the kids clean up. I'll have to look and see if we would be able to give them a disinfectant wipe, because they would be all over that. Like if you put a child, okay, hey, here's your wipe, you clean off the car track, here's your wipe, you're in charge of the refrigerator, just a few things like that. I'm just not 100% sure that we'll be able to let them handle the wipes, so I'll have to look into that. But like I said, Tuesday, we're not going to make ourselves crazy, but we are going to do our best to try and clean in between the groups rotating through the classroom.
Miss Michelle,
I think the key is washing your hands. I mean, to me, that's even more important than before you go or after, even after you play anywhere. Just
definitely.
I think that's what I'm gonna. I think that's the most important thing, because you can disinfect everything, and all it takes is
right. That's true.
one and put. I mean, yeah.
Miss Michelle, how does that work with the cars and the wood blocks?
Well, we talked about that Tuesday, Pat. Cars specifically. Remember I said dividing your cars into 2 separate groups and sanitizing them in between as your your groups rotate through. And blocks, really, we didn't come to a good thing on the blocks. It's too hard to divide them. I did say that you could just have a group do blocks, then for the next group that comes through, you've sprayed them down, you've turned it around. So one group can use it, one group doesn't, one group can use it, one group doesn't. So that's for most of you that have wooden blocks. For those of you that have the cardboard blocks, we talked about being able, Kara said she sprayed hers regularly, so I don't know how long they'll hold up if we're spraying them.
You can always do masking tape on them. Masking tape the whole outside of the box, and then you can clean
Packing tape.
Yeah, the clear packing tape. Well, I just encourage you guys to take what I talked about and adapt it for this year, because in our quote unquote normal setting, we would love all the kind of play things that we can engage the kids on. And I just encourage you not to set these thoughts aside just because of hard COVID and things like that. Really try and use play to teach the students this, just use it in your toolbox. Use play, because they will learn more, they'll learn faster, they'll learn quicker if you incorporate the play. Use your creativity. There are a lot of resources out there. If you Google play-based learning and then put zoo or whatever, there are so many Pinterest ideas, there are so many blogs from teachers and various things. They're not going to be your research-based situations, but they're going to give you those ideas of, okay, I can do this, I could do that, I could do this. And I love the rooms that we set up, that Cindy led, and all those kind of things, of the grocery store and of the transportation room, and those. Take those. I know this year probably y'all aren't going to mix those, but how can you incorporate it in your classroom? How could you make a transportation room in your room? You can do it. It's just going to take a little bit of planning, and maybe Carlene uses it Monday, Tuesday, maybe Monday, Wednesday, clean it, sanitize it really good, and then Pat uses it on Thursday, Friday. Y'all work together to make it where that extra effort is worth it, because kids will learn more, they will engage more, and you will see great growth through it. So I really encourage you. Any other questions or thoughts?
Ashley, if you're all finished, I'm going to borrow their ear for just a minute.
I'm all finished. If there's nothing else.
Hey, Ashley, real quick.
Yeah.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you, Ashley. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Woohoo.
Bye.
Thank you.
If you have any questions, you can email me or call me.
Thank you.
Hey, Yolanda, did you have a question? No? Okay. Well, real quickly, I'm going to tell y'all this. So Tuesday, we talked about when we would have to quarantine and what we would quarantine for. Well, I get to be the first guinea pig. My son tested positive for COVID yesterday. So I headed home from work last night with an to keep me hopefully busy here at home over the
We lost your audio.
That's because I muted and I didn't realize it would mute y'all. So
Oh.
keep going.
Oh,
Sorry,
oh.
Michelle. Sorry.
Okay, so what did you hear?
That your baby
You're home.
tested positive.
Quarantine.
So my son tested positive for COVID yesterday. So quarantine for 14 days. So that just wreaks havoc with all of our, not for you, really. Life is going to go on as normal for you. I just won't be there. So I brought everything home. I'm going to be here, so please call me if you've got questions. Of course, the other ladies will be in the office to help out with things that need to be done there. The biggest hurdle that I can see right now is our training on Monday from 3:30 to 6. The church is closed today. They closed because they were thinking the hurricane was coming through. But tomorrow I'm going to talk to some people there on campus and see if they can set us up to show the Zoom in the same venue. So right now we plan to use the fellowship hall on Monday from 3:30 to 6:30 for the training. And if they can set it up to where I can Zoom from home, play it, the fellowship hall, then you guys will still meet together. You're going to be on campus because you've in your classrooms. So we just need to find a location where you guys are able to sit down and view the Zoom. So I'll do it just like we've done these trainings. I'll present my PowerPoint. We'll go through everything. But I'll be stuck home until the first day of school. So right now, 14 days from yesterday does have me returning on September the 8th. So Lord willing, we'll all be good and I can come back to school on the first day of school. So
Michelle, does he have symptoms?
a little bit. I mean, he's got a low grade fever. This morning he really didn't even have fever, and he's got a cough and some congestion. So I don't anticipate it being bad for him. And he's old enough to kind of stay in his room anyway. He's doing his schoolwork in there and has plenty of things to keep him entertained. So
What made y'all get him tested? I'm just curious why he was tested.
well, he woke up yesterday morning with a really sore throat and his fever was like 99.7. And and I really thought that maybe he had strep throat as much as he was complaining of. I was really hoping he had strep throat. And him in and they tested him for strep and COVID, and the strep was negative and the COVID was positive. So
he had the fast test and the COVID?
Did do the rapid test, and I inquired about doing the longer one just because I've heard so many people say how inconclusive it can be or how inconsistent. But she said based on his symptoms and the fact that he had a positive test for it, she would assume. And the lady that did theirs actually said they haven't had a lot of false positives, but he's got the symptoms, so it makes sense that he's got it. We don't know where.
Flu test and all that too?
What?
Did he have the flu test too? And
Sayer took him. They did. I know they did strep and COVID. I don't think they did flu, but
which
COVID
one was it?
What's that?
Which son was it?
Oh, it's my youngest son, Caleb, my 8th
Okay.
grade.
I'm thinking the one that's playing football, of course, yeah, but how do you think he got it?
Caleb's doing football too at the junior.
Okay, gotcha. Okay.
Only started his.
Oh, we lost you.
Oh.
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Yeah, maybe I wonder if Ashley can take, because I can go back to my normal
I think
screen.
the thing is other people are muting her out. So like we have background noise. So I'm hearing other noises behind people. I think somebody that's not muted is blocking her.
Is it possible to take your share screen off or something so we can go back to like just the Zoom? There you go. Thank you. Hi.
If you're, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Oh, I don't know. I mean, we don't know where he came in contact with it, but we just knew that we probably should get him tested, because the sooner we get that positive test, the sooner we can start our quarantine days. And so that's why we went ahead and did the rapid test yesterday. But I wanted to pretend that I didn't hear that noise. I wanted to put my fingers in my ears and just say, no, I'm not hearing this. It's not happening. But I knew that I needed to be honest, because if I ended up coming down with it and I was there with you guys all week next week, and you had been in contact with me, then you would be quarantined the first week of school, and we didn't want that. So this is the hard part, y'all. That's what's going to happen to you. You're going to find out that you were exposed to somebody, and then you're going to be missing 2 weeks of class with your kiddos. But it's just, we have to do the hard, isn't that what the thing said? We have to do the hard stuff right now. So anyway, just pray that the rest of us stay healthy, because that would extend our quarantine time if we had to, anyone else had to quarantine. So anyway. That's it. Sorry.
I hope he feels better soon.
Okay, but I mean, he's
yeah.
handling it pretty well. But just know next week I am home, and I do not mind a phone call or text message if you have questions about anything. I can Zoom with you while you're up there at school or whatever, but I'll just be doing it from home.
Will Pam and Tammy and them, will they be there?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Pam, Tammy, and Karen will be in Monday, Tuesday,
Okay.
Wednesday, Thursday next week.
Okay.
So. All right. Is that all?
Yep.
Okay. Then we'll see y'all back at 1 o'clock.
1 o'clock. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. See
Bye.
you later. Bye.